Disruption feels like destruction, a collapse, a breakdown. Something ends, and we panic. But what if disruption isn't the opposite of order? What if it's how the universe renews itself? We live in a moment obsessed with stability and terrified of disruption. We try to prevent it, control it, and when that fails, we weaponize it, use it for power rather than understanding it as a process. Today, we explore disruption as a natural cycle of the universe, one we fear, misunderstand, and resist, even as it quietly shapes ecosystems, identities, organizations, and civilizations. Disruption isn't random. It's a fractal breakpoint, the moment when an existing pattern can no longer sustain itself. The form still exists, but the conditions that once supported it don't. At that point, reality does one of two things. It reorganizes, or it collapses. Disruption is the moment in between. In nature, forest fires look catastrophic, but they release nutrients, clear dead matter, create space for renewal. Suppress fire too long, and the system becomes fragile. When it finally burns, it burns violently. Disruption isn't chaos, it's transition. In non-linear systems, change is threshold-based. Water doesn't slowly become steam. It hits a limit, then flips state. Life evolves the same way. Extinction, mutation, environmental shock. Without disturbance, systems over-optimize for past conditions and become brittle. Psychological disruption often happens when identity structures can't metabolize reality anymore. Burnout, anxiety, collapse. These are often misread as weakness, but they signal misfit. The ego confuses pattern loss with death. When disruption is too fast, unsupported, or denied meaning, it becomes traumatic, but disruption itself is neutral. Heraclitus saw that what looks stable is simply slow change. The pattern repeats, only the scale changes. Civilizations don't evolve smoothly. They reorganize through rupture. Empires that suppress disruption become brittle. Delayed disruption guarantees more violent reorganization later. The form changes, the pattern doesn't. Many traditions frame disruption as seasonal. Fields rest before renewal. Night precedes morning. Decay precedes rebirth. Suffering doesn't come from change. It comes from clinging. At the personal level, disruption feels like failure. Burnout, illness, identity loss. But often what's happening isn't annihilation. It's reconfiguration. A structure you built to survive no longer fits who you are. I'm a recovered people pleaser. Now, recovered doesn't mean cured. It means aware. For years, I built my identity around being indispensable. I overgave, overperformed, overfunctioned. At work, in relationships. Underneath was a belief. If I give enough, eventually I'll be valued. That pattern fueled my career and nearly broke me. The cycle was predictable. Overgive, exhaust, withdraw, repeat. The disruption didn't arrive dramatically. It came as a quiet knowing in my body. I was done. And what surprised me was this. The version of me that emerged wasn't harder. It was softer. Disruption didn't destroy me. It dismantled a structure I had outgrown. Sometimes disruption doesn't remove what's wrong. It removes what's expired. Relationships experience rupture as part of their cycle. Conflict surfaces what can't remain hidden. Avoiding disruption doesn't create harmony, it creates stagnation. I coach a couple married for 17 years. They had never fought, not once. For years, they believed this meant they were exceptional. But when their daughters left for college, the house fell silent. And something surfaced. They didn't know each other anymore. Their stability wasn't harmony. It was avoidance that eventually bore through the denial. Sometimes disruption doesn't arise in chaos, but from stillness. Healthy relationships don't avoid rupture. They metabolize it. What happens after is always uncertain, but the disruption was necessary for them both individually and as a relationship. Organizations feel disruption before they name it. You can sense it in meetings, in tone, in exhaustion. By the time layoffs happen, the strain has been building for years. The danger isn't change, it's denial. When systems pretend nothing has changed, disruption turns extractive. When faced honestly, disruption becomes reorganization. Systems that deny it invite collapse. Systems that ritualize it evolve. At the societal level, disruption feels existential. But disruption itself isn't ideological. It's structural. AI shocks, economic volatility, energy transitions. Disruption becomes dangerous when it overwhelms us, when it's denied, or when it's weaponized. Stability held too long becomes brittle. Disruption unleashed too fast becomes chaos. Life lives in the tension. And that tension is the engine of renewal. How do we work with disruption rather than against it? Not by mastering it, but by changing our relationship to it. I offer 3 practices to help. 1. Name the pattern before judging the event. Ask yourself, what kind of disruption is this? Regenerative, extractive, delayed? Reframe your thinking from something is broken to something's now complete. The second practice is to separate grief from fear. Grief honors what's ending. Fear imagines annihilation. Remember, the goal isn't certainty. It's maintaining enough stability to remain intact while the change unfolds. And the third practice is to build containers for change. Suppression breeds catastrophe. But chaos isn't the only alternative. Create rituals, pauses, honest conversations. Stay present long enough for the next form to emerge. Disruption will ask you again and again, will you treat this as punishment or as a reorganization? Listen, the goal isn't comfort, it's consciousness. Disruption isn't an enemy, It's how reality learns. When you see disruption as a pattern rather than a punishment, the world stops looking chaotic. You begin to see the beginning inside the ending. Life doesn't eliminate instability, it reorganizes through it. Wisdom isn't stopping disruption, it's cooperating with it. Something falls away, something no longer fits, and space emerges for what comes next. I'm Mary Schaub. This is Fractals of Change, wishing you curiosity, presence, and flow.